and I love how like, and by the film's end, he acknowledges his egotistical self, and he shows humility. He sheds a black suit. He's once after he hits Mary Jane in the club. He has that revelation where it's like, okay, there is something going on here. There's something wrong here. And he sheds the black suit, and he takes an important step of he actually asks for Harry's help when he goes to save Mary Jane. He knows, the old Spider-Man would just kind of go and try to do it by himself, but he knows he can't do it by himself, and so he goes and asks for Harry's help, and he takes action, and that's one of the things going back to, I think when we just went into character writing and Finding Nemo, what the important thing to do is in a movie is show your character take action, not just talk about change, show them actually changing. And that's what Raimi does in this movie. He shows Peter Parker actually change by revealing it through action, through character action. Yeah. And and at the end of the essay, the guy says, like, quote, "The greatest antidote to pathological narcissism is a relationship with a real person." And that's what Peter does. That's what, at the end of the movie, he takes that step with Mary Jane in the final scene, and the movie ends without, the previous two movies in the trilogy ended with Spider-Man swinging through New York City, swinging between all the skyscrapers and everything. But this movie ends on a much quieter, more humble note. He just showed, just ends with him holding Mary Jane, and I think that that's really fitting for where his character went from the beginning to the end. So that's change is right there in front of us through the screenplay. Yeah. It's about fixing one other quote was, "It's about fixing broken relations. It's about showing how to be our best self, how to be strong and responsible, to be kind and forgiving, to not be prideful and selfish. It's about teaching what it truly means to be a hero." And I think that's what Peter Parker learns in this movie. And yeah, I just like how characters' actions have real consequences. Like I mentioned, there's actual death in the movie. Eddie and Harry both die. Harry's death is particularly significant, not only because we know him a lot better and we're familiar with him, but because he dies by his own glider. It's very poetic. Like, he dies the same way his father Norman died, and it ties into the theme of self-destruction because Peter starts self-destructing in the beginning of the movie. Eddie literally self-destructs, commits suicide at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And
I like how Harry's was a redemption of his father. Like, his father died by his own glider, and he also died by his own glider, but he died by his own glider because he threw himself in front
yes.
of Spider-Man instead of trying to stab Spider-Man in the back and Spider-Man jumping out of the way.